Alright guys, today we're talking about edge finishes on K390. And Tom and I were talking about this over the weekend. I've had all the work for this video done for probably since Thanksgiving, maybe even a little bit before that. And I just never finished up the video. So since we were talking about it and Tom did the S90V comparison, I do have an S90V comparison with edge finishes that I also have not finished yet. Hopefully I'll get to that one soon. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about the K390 from Golden here. Since I had tested this already, had the numbers from my regular testing edge. The only difference being I did run this one at 600 grit for the test. So we'll talk about all that. We'll talk about all the different edge finishes I used and how they actually did. So in this video, it's a bunch of clips put together. I spared you guys watching the actual cutting of 4 different times. So what I did do is just show the different amounts of cardboard that were building up in the trash can that I use in the shop as I did the cutting. So what finishes did I use? I did a full ceramic, Spyderco medium, Spyderco fine, Spyderco ultra fine. I did a silicon carbide finish up to 1000 grit. I used the cheap diamond plate that I bought for $25 that is supposed to be a 400 1000 grit. I also used a DMT diafold, the 300 600, and of course our baseline will be the verified testing from the edge that I did on the KME. So go ahead and plug all those clips in here to show some of the different edge finishes, what they cut in the garbage can, and then we'll come back and talk about what all the results were, the percentage, as well as the reduction in cutting that you'll get depending on what finish you actually use. Alright guys, so as you can see, this is 32 pounds per inch crush weight cardboard. Tested this cardboard before, got results well within spec, and this was the 600 grit DMT diafold freehand edge. Not showing the cutting this time. You guys can just see what I did cut. This is going to replace the actual cutting footage this time. And after I sharpen it on the King K80, I'll come back and show how much more cardboard has been put into the can, and then we'll talk about the results. So now we're on to the King K80. It's a 1000 grit edge, strapped exactly the same way, no angle change or anything else between this and the DMT. So now we're going to go ahead and see how much this is going to cut before it will no longer slice cleanly into paper. This is the K390 Para 3 after cutting with the King K80 1000 grit edge. You can see quite a lot of cutting there between those two edges. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about how they both did in sharpening and cutting on the two different abrasives. And here is the ceramic progression. So go ahead and cut with this one, then show you guys how much it cut. Ceramic finish. What the ceramic finish cut. So now let's go ahead and gather up all the info and talk about how each independent different finish actually did in total amount of cutting in a 1-inch section. Now that we saw all that, the different amounts of cardboard that it cut, some of the different finishes, I did use all the same cardboard in this test. No, it's not exactly the same cardboard that I always do the edge retention testing with. However, you can go back, and I might even link it in here. I did a test of cardboard with one single knife to show how comparable 32-pound crush weight cardboard actually is. So that link will be in the description. So let's go ahead and get to the results. I did only do total amount of cutting. That's the important thing here. The fine edge is kind of irrelevant for this particular test, so I just didn't do that at all. Just did total cutting. So the KME edge at 600 grit, and these were all stropped exactly the same way. That didn't change. Same strop, same 631 micron, 5 passes per side. On the KME, this cut 339 feet. That is our baseline. That was a verified result. It was a difference between the verification tests of about 3%. That's our baseline, 339. So I'm going to go in descending order of what cut the closest to the baseline from best to worst. So the DMT diafold, that was a 300-600 grit progression. That did 318 feet. That was a reduction of 21 feet or 6%. Now, that could be any number of things. Could just be the way that I freehanded that particular edge, but 6%, well within what we look for in testing. And if I compare it to the verification run, that was a little bit less. I believe it was low 330s. That percentage actually shrinks down to less than 4% of a difference. So from the DMT, I also did the cheap diamond plate. That is supposed to be a 400, 1000, two different grit plate. However, it does leave quite a coarse finish for what they claim to be 1000 grit. So that one did 297 feet. That was a reduction of 42 feet from our baseline, or 14% less cutting. Now, that cheap diamond plate, if you're not looking to spend a bunch of money and you just want one little combination stone like that, I believe it's 6 by 2.5 or something in that range, and you're only wanting to spend $25, you're going to get good enough results with it that I wouldn't even worry about it. I have used mine enough times now that it isn't wearing as fast as I thought it would. Done a bunch of kitchen knives on it, done a bunch of random steels on it just to see how it would do. I may do a video talking about that, but I'm getting up there in sharpenings on that stone, and it's still holding up well for what I paid for it. From there, we go to the King K80. And that is I believe that's like a 240, 1000 combination stone. Something in that range. Same sharpening on that one. Did it up to the 1000 grit, 631 micron strop. And that one cut 191 feet. That was a 148 foot reduction, or 78% less cutting than the baseline number. So now you see we're getting away from diamonds, and the performance on the same exact knife is suffering quite a bit. And the last one I did is ceramic. I didn't do any aluminum oxide, not for any particular reason, just didn't include it in this, and I've been sitting on this data long enough now, it's just time to get it out. Maybe I'll throw that one in the future. But the ceramic, which was the medium, fine, ultra fine Spyderco stone combination, that cut 205 feet less. I'm sorry, jumping ahead. That cut 134 feet total, or 205 feet less than our baseline, or a 153% reduction in cutting using a ceramic finish. I'm going to do some more of these on some different steels. I already have the hard part of the S90V done. Since there's so much D2 still out there, I have considered doing D2 as well. And maybe a few other steels that are popular. S30V, S35. Maybe some M390 or 20CV. You guys let me know what other ones you would like to see. But I'm going to keep it simple. When you start to get away from diamonds, and I do need to pick up a CBN stone. Love to throw one of those in here and see how it compares. But for the time being, you can see how we went to the silicon carbide. We got a finer finish, rounded those carbides off a little bit more, got quite a reduction in cutting. And then the ceramic, and that was only to a 4000 grit finish on the ceramic, and it ended up being a huge difference off of our baseline. I mean, 153% isn't small. Or you can look at it like this. Sharpening this K390 on ceramic took it from performing like something like an M4 down to performing something like a poorly done S35 or a halfway decent D2 kind of edge retention. You guys have any questions? Any other things you'd like to see? I'm definitely, like I said, going to throw some more finishes in there. I'd also like to do the Veneve resin bonded diamonds. See how those actually fare. I have sharpened this on that a few times and used it, but I haven't tested it, so I can't say exactly how it does. Any questions, comments, anything you guys like to talk about? Any kind of performance reduction you've seen using different edge finishes? Drop it down below. Like I've said lately, as I get time, I will get to the comments as I can. That's all I have for this one. As always, I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.